Thirdly, the fact that there's a lack of confidence in terms of the fact that they will be able to resolve these issues based on the behaviour of the council. The next steps are that I've written now to the council. They have 10 days to respond to that. Following that, I will consider their views prior to formally appointing a Crown Observer and putting an individual into that position. Ultimately, the government is concerned about the impact this has on ratepayers here in the city, and the advice is that they could be making different decisions which would be having a more positive impact on ratepayers, and that is the point of having an observer, is to assist the council as they go through that long-term plan for the benefit of Wellington ratepayers.
When it comes to the water infrastructure issue, is that the fault of the current crop of councillors, or is that a long-standing issue with Wellington Council that should have been addressed a long time ago?
Well, I think it is a long-standing issue, but the reality is they, in their long-term plan which they have put in place, the majority of their CapEx expenditure is going to be funded by rates. They're not utilising debt financing appropriately. That's the advice I've received from officials. And so the point of having a Crown Observer is to assist the council in managing these issues as they redevelop their long-term plan for the benefit of Wellington ratepayers.
Just for clarity, when you say they're not utilising debt financing appropriately, you mean they're not taking on enough debt?
Well, no, in terms of how they utilise debt, ultimately they're taking on debt for other things, but water is one of their core roles. And the reality is they're putting, I think it's 94% of their CapEx is being funded directly from rates. And so they could be funding and financing that differently and actually reducing the rate burden on ratepayers.
Will you release the DIA advice in full?
I will release the advice proactively following the final decision after the 10 days consultation.
And how would you characterise Tory Whānua's reaction?
I think we had a pleasant conversation. We spoke about our intention and ultimately she now has the opportunity over the next 10 days, her and the council, to respond to that.
Has she indicated to you that she will challenge your decision?
She didn't provide any indication. I notified her of the decision. I said I would be writing to her. She has 10 days to respond to that.
Why in particular have gone for an observer rather than one of the
ultimately
more extreme steps?
The council is democratically elected. The mayor and the councillors are democratically elected for the city, and the expectation of ratepayers in Wellington is that they will act in the best interest of Wellingtonian ratepayers. I've been very clear in my communication to the mayor and also in my statements that I have no intention for this government to be making decisions on behalf of Wellington. They are democratically elected. They are responsible and accountable to the ratepayers in the city, but the problems that exist do warrant an observer and do warrant that level of intervention to assist them and to provide information to the government around the performance of the city for the best interests of Wellington ratepayers.
Is there anything in that consultation period, anything that could come out of that could make you change your mind or alter your position at all?
Ultimately, they have the opportunity to provide their feedback. One of the questions is, have they got a plan to resolve this? What is their plan? I'll be engaging with the mayor following the 10 days consultation. Look forward to her response.
Does appointing an observer not undermine the council's authority?
No, not at all. Ultimately, it's about assisting the council. It's also about providing information through to the Crown around the performance of the government. It's also about providing an independent source of advice for the mayor and the councillors as they make those decisions. And that's important because these are difficult, challenging issues, and it's important that they have another source of advice to help them get through it.
So what does it do were to encourage the council to change the way it finances the water reform, water investment, to reduce the rate funding and increase the debt funding? Would that mean that the observer might be able to reduce the rates increases that Wellingtonians are facing?
I've received advice from the council around that being a problem. The observer will be able to assist as the council re-prepares its long-term plan. But ultimately, as I've said, the democratic decisions by the council. Ultimately, those decisions still lie with the mayor and the councillors.
When it comes to that long-term plan, if the council were to ditch the Golden Mile proposal, would you support not having an observer in there?
Look, no. I think I'm not going to get into the individual decisions. Ultimately, those individual decisions sit with the mayor and the council. I may have personal views, but I think everyone knows my personal view on that particular project. This is about putting in place an observer to assist them as they reset their long-term plan. They have up until the 30th of June next year to reset that plan.
But that's one of the things that they're spending the capex on, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like, so they could be spending that on water infrastructure. So if they
Absolutely.
said we're not going to go ahead with the Golden Mile, we're going to put all of that into our water infrastructure, would you back off?
Well, we've made it very clear. We're consulting on a terms of reference and putting in place the Chair has 10 days to respond to me with feedback. I'm not getting into those types of things. I'm interested in the long-term plan being finalised over the next 9 months for the best interest of Wellington ratepayers.
So how does the Observer actually work? You know, do they get an office down at Wellington? They send you a fortnightly report? How does it kind of work?
Well, we go through a process to choose an individual. That person has access to information. They can attend council meetings and council committees. They are able to assist the mayor, the councillors and the chief executive and officers and provide advice and then report back to me. But ultimately, the council, the mayor, they still are democratically elected. They are responsible for all of the decisions for the city.
And the Observer, they have full access to the council books and everything. Council
That
has
is
to
our
cooperate with
expectation,
them.
absolutely.
And how does the process work for appointing the person who will be the commissioner?
Well, ultimately, so the next step is they've got 10 days to respond to me. I have not yet received advice on applicable names. I'll go through a process getting some advice on that, and then the government will then appoint somebody.
How much of a factor was the council not selling its shares in your decision?
I think, that is an element in terms of the fact they've decided to relitigate their long-term plan, and that is, I think, highlighted the fact that they have been unable to make decisions. It's not unusual for councils to redo long-term plans, but when they have such a significant change, that does have an impact, and that's the advice I've received from the DIA.
How much of a factor was, come back to me.
You're confident that if this is challenged, your decision-making process will stand up in court?
Yes, I've received advice, I've relied on advice from Department of Interior Affairs. Great, thank you. Cheers.
James Kenner of the letters, correct? I got it wrong and I've apologised unreservedly to the person.
Other than those two elements, the swearing and whether you'd been drinking, was there anything else in that you would dispute?
The Prime Minister said this morning you weren't really disputing anything when you went through that list with him on Friday.
Look, I said what I've said, but look, the issue is that I've caused offence, I got it wrong and I've apologised.
Have you managed to make contact with...
Look, I was wrong. It was given in a light-hearted manner, but unfortunately he took offence, and for that reason I've apologised.
Have you managed to make contact with the complainant yet?
No.
Are you pursuing that in an attempt to talk
Look,
to him?
I have offered to speak directly to the complainant. If I could, I would, but unfortunately I don't have his contact.
What would you say to him if you had that conversation?
I would say that I unreservedly apologise to him, and that I was wrong, and I'm very sorry for the distress it's caused.
Do you think the Prime Minister's let you off lightly?
Look, that's for the Prime Minister, but all I would say is I'm very passionate about this portfolio. I love going out and meeting businesses and talking to people, and I'm very keen to
Are there any other instances where you've made comments of a similar nature that may have offended people?
No, not that I believe so.
So you're confident there's no other instances like this that may come out of the woodwork and surprise you?
No, I'm not. Look, I've been an MP for 10 years. I've been a strong advocate for my constituents. Probably not everyone's agreed with my position, but I'm comfortable with my conduct.
What was going on in your head that you thought it was light-hearted to keep calling him a loser? Can you explain what was going on?
Look, I just say to you, it was wrong what I did, but it was a very brief interaction and it was of a light-hearted nature. He clearly took offence, and for that reason I apologise unreservedly.
Did you realise in the moment that you might have caused some offence?
No, I didn't actually.
When did it occur to you that something had gone wrong?
When I received the complaint.
So you had absolutely no thought process after that meeting or during it that something might not be quite right with that person, nothing about their body language, the way they spoke
No,
to you?
and if I had, I would have tried to deal with it immediately, because there was no intent, and I'm not the type of person that walks around trying to say horrible things to people, unfortunately, and so if I had, I would have responded.
Do you think that the fact that this complaint was shared with opposition parties at the same time as it was shared with the Prime Minister, do you suspect any sort of political motive by the person that sent the...
Look, I don't that. Look, I did wrong. I've caused offence with the individual concerned, and I am devastated about it. I don't want to be talking about this. I've got lots of things I'd really like to be talking about, and personally I'm devastated, but more importantly I'm concerned about the individual himself.
Why did you keep asking him to have a drink with you?
Look, it was done in a warm manner, and it was part of a conversation of lighthearted, come and join. It was a very brief meeting afterwards, so it's just what it is.
Would you say this is the low light of your parliamentary career so far?
By a long way.
Do you think you could still be a minister?
Look, the Prime Minister's still got confidence in me. As I said to you before, I'm very passionate about this portfolio. I love talking to people, love going out and meeting businesses. Businesses are doing tough right now. We want to support them during a tough time, and I've got lots of things I'm trying to do to help them. And so, I'm passionate about it.
Was this a planned meeting at the business?
It was a planned meeting.
But was it in your ministerial diary?
It was in my ministerial diary.
You sure about that?
Yes. Okay, I think we're...
Have your caucus colleagues been upset with you? Have you heard, what's the feedback been from them?
Oh, look, I've apologised to my caucus colleagues. The last thing I want to do is be in a position where we're detracting from the great work that the National Party and the coalition government's doing. So I have apologised to them.
Did you consider offering to the Prime Minister to resign?
No, I didn't, but ultimately that's the Prime Minister's decision. But I am very keen to continue in the role that I have, and I think I've got a lot to offer. But because we need to support our businesses, and they're part of the dynamic part of our economy to help grow and innovate and actually get New Zealand out of the financial state it is. Thank you. Thanks.